Hello, welcome back to Avio's journey for part two of getting started in voiceover. Very excited. Today we're going to be talking about choosing the right equipment. Yesterday we talked about setting up your space. So I'm really excited to go through that equipment today. Make sure, just as a quick note, I'm just extending it for today, actually till about later this afternoon. The St. Patrick's Day special we've had really exciting special. We've had a lot of people joining, so it's going really well. I thought I'll just extend it for another half a day or so. So as soon as you see this, make sure you get over there, sign up for VO Journey Academy so that you can take all this knowledge and stuff you're learning here and apply it, bring it to the next level so you can start getting voiceover work and growing your business. Check that out. The link is below to sign up for VO's Journey Academy. All right, let's dive into part two, choosing the right equipment. So first off, we've got to talk about the microphone. Okay. So we're going to start off with, there are two types of microphones, really. There's dynamic microphones and there's condenser microphones. Dynamic microphones, this, for example, is a dynamic microphone. And basically you know this microphone probably better than any without realizing it. Whenever you watched a concert or big event on stage, that old mic, that's an oldie but goldie. It's still used today, where it had that silver ball on the top with the black handle. Okay, from Shure. That microphone was a dynamic microphone, and the idea behind them is that it does a great job of blocking out noise right around you, but you have to get close to the mic in order for it to pick up your voice, but it blocks out the noise around you. Okay. And the dynamic microphone has been used for a long time, and they're very good. They're hardy microphones, tough microphones. And again, they do a good job of reducing external noise. Now, the downside to them, right, is that they have to, for our purposes, because they do a good job of getting, not picking up external noise, they have to be run at a very high dB level, or, so you have to really jack up your gain. So because of that, right, your volume, if you will, oftentimes for our purposes, it can cause a lot of noise from the interface itself that is powering, or the amp that's powering the microphone. And because of that, it ends up causing noise that we can't control. And it can be harder. But at the same time, they also can be great microphones for a situation where you're having trouble controlling the noise. We talked about yesterday soundproofing. If you're having trouble with sound, with too much noise, that could be a benefit. Now, one thing to help with that is we have what's called a cloud lifter. Now, on my microphone, this is an RE20. It's a very, famous radio microphone that radio stations used a lot. And you can see here, I have on the back here, this is called a FET head, and basically that's a cloud lifter. And what it does is it allows me to run what's called phantom power, and that's 48 volts. Okay, that is an option to add extra electricity to your microphone, right? Just give it more juice, basically, so that you don't have to run the gain so high. Now, you can't do it on a dynamic microphone without a cloud lifter. Okay, so that's just an important thing, because if you do that, you can actually hurt the microphone and it won't actually do anything. But if you have the cloud lifter, it mitigates the electricity or whatever and the flow, so it boosts the power of your dynamic microphone. So the very famous right now, the other one is the Shure 7. The 7, what is it? The Shure 7 MB7, something like that. But anyways, there's a couple of good dynamic microphones out there. I don't necessarily recommend recording with a dynamic microphone, but I've seen some very successful voice actors record with a dynamic microphone, and it works very well for them. So that's okay too. The Shure SM7B. There you go. The Shure SM7B. I believe that's it. I call it the Shure, but it's SM7B. The Shure mic 7B. Anyways, you know that so anyways, got off track there. So I've seen some voice actors record with dynamic microphones, and it's perfectly great. This is my editing station, so I'm my recording stuff is in there. And what I use and what we're talking about next is a condenser microphone. So a condenser microphone uses phantom power to juice up, if you will, the diaphragm. There's a little diaphragm in the microphone, and it juices up the microphone to where it picks up a lot more intricacies in your voice. It picks up a lot more. So as voice actors, you could tell how this could be very beneficial, right? Especially when we are all the different types of acting. We're trying to get the nuances in our voice. It's very good microphones, condenser microphones for what we do. The trade-off with them are that they pick up more. So, if you don't have a very well treated space, it can cause a lot of problems. So that's why you want to move yourself towards getting a condenser microphone as a voice actor. That should be where you're going to. But you have to understand that you've got to, like we talked about yesterday, you've got to treat your space well. Okay. Now I want to talk about because if you noticed, I talked about dynamic microphone, condenser microphone, but I didn't mention USB. Okay, so there are a lot of microphones out there, right, that are USB microphone. I mean, Blue Yeti, the Revelator, there's a lot of different microphones. And for purposes of if you're in a hotel room or you're traveling somewhere and you have an audition and everything, it's nice to have a Revelator around, a USB mic. But for the purpose of your recording at your base, your home studio, we want to stay away from USB mics. They were making a good surge there for a little bit, but they're just not been able to catch up, and the sound quality really falls off at the level in which we're trying to perform at. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to USB mics should not be. Most of us start with USB mics just because we either don't know better, it's a financial thing because they're going to be cheaper and they're less equipment because you just need the USB mic. You don't need the mic and an interface, okay, which we're going to talk about the audio interface next. But it is a little bit cheaper. However, it's a lot cheaper. However, you pay the price and quality. Okay, so and actually for the same price, like even with like a Blue Yeti, okay, and the Pro one too, for the same price you can get like a Rode NT1, a good condenser microphone to start out with, and not have these issues that come with XLR mics and USB mics. And the reason why the issues that come is usually there's a lot of internal noise that the microphone creates that goes through your system. There's the sound issues. It's not going to be as clear. There's a lot of challenges. Now I'm sure there's someone somewhere where they love their USB microphone and it's going to work out. But 90% of the time, USB microphones are not where we want to go for our recording. Okay. Now, one last thing to talk about, USB, right, is a cable. So, we're gonna talk about cables a little bit later here today. But the microphones I mentioned, right, the dynamic microphone, condenser microphone, this is an XLR cable. All right. So we're gonna talk about cables in a second, but that's kind of what the microphones we're using is an XLR cable. All right. All right. Now let's talk about the audio interface. So what happens is now you have your mic. Okay. You bought your mic. It has to plug into somewhere. It's not a USB microphone. You saw it. It's a XLR microphone, right? It has 3 prongs at the end. You might be aware, like you might know it's similar to like what you would what you see sometimes people plugging into speakers, or although now that's like speak on and different types of cables. But the old mic cables, right? They're still here. We still use them. Okay. And basically, it's an XLR cable, and you need to plug it into an audio interface is what we call, because that audio interface is basically an amp that powers your microphone. Okay. And it also takes an analog signal and turns it into a digital signal. Okay. So an audio interface, they start at all kinds of they start at beginner levels at like about $99 and go up to $1,000 or more. Things to look out for. I always say, good place to start is with the Scarlett, which is a good interface, $99. It's a good starter. I do like the Universal Audio Volt. VOLT. That's a little bit more expensive, but that's made by Universal Audio. I personally use the Universal Audio Apollo Twin, and I absolutely love it. I started out with an audio box, and again, that was like a $99 one when I started, but I upgraded to a better interface. And what the interfaces do, is they control a lot when it comes to, for example, the speed, the rate at which the signal flows to your computer and into your software, how fast that changes. Also, the power flow to your microphone, the noise, the internal noise. The better interface you have, the less noise internally the interface itself is going to create. And mitigates from like your microphone and stuff. And why is that important? Because when you go to record, we were talking a lot about eliminating sound from your space, but we also need to think about eliminating sound internally from your microphone, from your interface. That you can't, because you can't proof that, you can't soundproof that out, because that's internal, it's inside of these machines. So it's really important to have a really good preamp and your interface. So the Apollo, I like Universal Audio for that purposes. There are so many other interfaces out there. You can find them, and I mean, every company makes them. So the reality is, I got the sniffles today. The reality is that there's a bunch out there, but my favorite, of course, is Universal Audio. I just love that company. I love the quality that I've had with it. It's just something I really like. So I recommend it, Universal Audio, and I recommend the Volt if you're just starting out. And then you're working your way up to the Apollo Twin. Again, there are many other ones. A lot of people start off with the Scarlett 2i2 or the Scarlett Single, which is a great interface as well. So just check it out though. But that's what the audio interface does. It's a box basically that sits on your desk, and it's just what you plug in your microphone to, and it powers again your microphone, regulates the electricity, sends the signal to your computer, changes an analog signal, which is coming from your microphone, to a digital signal so your computer can read it. And it's just a very important part of your chain, right? A chain is what we call, the points of, I guess, process, right? That your voice goes through. So your microphone through your cables to your interface, from your interface to your computer to your software. That's like the chain of events, basically, is what it is. So anyway, so that's your audio interface. The next thing we talk about is headphones and monitors. How do you listen back to your audio? Okay. There's two things: headphones and monitors. So we all know what headphones are, and headphones are great to have, of course. I think everybody needs a pair of headphones. The thing with headphones it's a personal preference. I acted on stage for years. I was a stage actor for many years of my life. And, of course, I never worked with headphones live on a stage. So when I started voice acting, I did not like headphones. I did not like the way they felt on me. I didn't like the way I sounded in the headphones, right? So I was like, I just don't want to perform with headphones on, or I don't want them on. And I don't want to edit with them on, because I didn't like how my voice sounded in the headphones. Because because the way it sounded in the headphones and the way it sounded when outside of the headphones, right, in a car, in my house, and other earphones and stuff like that, was totally different. So I looked into other options like monitors. What a monitor is, okay, is basically a speaker, but we use it to monitor our sound. All right. And basically, the difference between monitors and speakers there is monitors were on in an idea. If you're on a stage, okay, and you'll see there are speakers that are facing the audience, and monitors are the speakers that are facing the performers. Okay, and those are specifically set up for something like it can be one piece of, like, for example, the drummers might have their own monitors, the singers might have their own monitors, and depending on where they are on stage, they might have one thing playing more than the other. You can manipulate what comes out of those monitors, okay, individually from where they need to go for performers. So the same thing with us, in the sense that, what we do is we want monitors that do not give a boost to the high end, a boost to the low end. We want just like a flat response, so that it literally just gives us a clean sound. Okay, and that's what we call monitors. I thought I saw a question the other day. Why is it called monitor? Why are they just not called speakers? And can you use them as speakers? Absolutely, you can use them as speakers. But the difference is they were, the idea is they're created to monitor your sound, because what you hear, at least on stage, where you're sitting, is not necessarily the mix that the audience is fully hearing, right? They're getting everything mixed together. Whereas on stage, you might not, you might need to hear a specific thing. So for us, monitors kind of represent a flat, like a flat response rate, meaning that it's a natural sound. There's no boosts going on. And a lot of markets, like I have a couple of JBL monitors, and you can see in the back, it allows you. There's a button and a knob, a twisty knob, and it allows you to add boost to the high end, add boost to the low end, or just keep it at zero in a flat response. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a true sound. Like, how do we sound? Now, the reason I like monitors without headphones on and to listen is because I just feel like it emulates more about how we're gonna sound to people. Does that make sense? So that's something that I really like. And I got those a while ago. Now, the one thing to notice about monitors is that when you do that, your space does matter where you put them. One, these are powered monitors, which means, right, they have to be plugged in. So just like a microphone, something has to power the monitors. So, the bigger ones, the bigger monitor speakers you see, those are powered by a big amp. All right. So they plug into this like big chain amp, and that amp is then powers all of these. But in our situation and stuff, these are smaller, so they're plugged in. They're just plugged into the wall. Okay, now, but because of that, they can make a little bit of hissing noise. So if you are in an enclosed area and you have these monitors on, it might be better to have headphones if you are in a smaller area, so you don't have that extra noise, or at least just turn them off until it's time to listen back, because they'll have like a shh, and that noise is literally just because of the electricity that's powering them. Okay, but it's not bad when you're in a little bigger space, but when you're in a closed, really smaller space, you'll pick up the noise. Okay. Now I did want to. Oh, and I did want to mention something about your headphones. There's open back headphones and closed back headphones, and I particularly like the headphones that cover your entire ear, right, and that give us full coverage, or like closed back. And it's basically the idea that it's going to block out external noise, and allow you just to focus on your sound, all right, as opposed to hearing other sound out there. Now, could you use another headphone? Like, because I have wireless, you might have your own wireless headphones or your earphones. They do, like at Sweetwater, I don't remember the company that makes them. It might be sure, I'm not sure if it is, but there are earphones out there that are monitor earphone, like that are small, that you can use too. I've seen some voice actor use those. It's really personal preference. There's so many ways. There's so many ways to listen back to your work. The one thing I would recommend you don't do is listen through your computer, because that sound is going to give you an inaccurate sound, an inaccurate, like, kind of replay of how it actually sounds in other mediums. because that computer, your computer speaker might not be very good, or it might give a weird sound, and you can't get an accurate sound or an accurate listen. So that's an important thing. Don't use your computer one. Okay, now let's talk about pop filters and stands. So you might think, okay, I've got an interface. Well, how do I hold my microphone? How does my microphone stay up? Well, you need a stand. Okay, and there's a variety of stands. When I first started, I had a tripod stand. So basically, it's just a metal pole, and it has three legs on the bottom. So that's like a tripod. Or there's like the old microphone, which is a stand, and it's got a circular base, and it's got a metal pole, and on top of the pole there is a microphone clip, right? And the microphone fits in the clip. There's that, and there's also like a boom stand, where that just means it's got a pole and another pole attached at an angle, and it's got a hinge or whatever, so it can go up and down, so you can see where that would be very helpful. There's also stands like this, which is it's attached to my desk, right? So I can move it around and stuff and keep it there. I love this. Is the Rode PS1 stand. I absolutely love it. It's expensive. It's over $100, but it's so worth it because I like I said, for the longest time I used a tripod stand with a boom arm that moved around and stuff, so I could put it like behind my table. I had the boom arm come down so it held the microphone up, and I used that for a while because also if I stood up, like in my booth, I have that. That's what I have in my booth. So that's what I use is a tripod mic stand in my booth, because I stand up. I don't sit down in there. I sit down out here. But out here, because of the videos I make, the sessions I do, I use the Rode PS1 as a reticulating arm too, right? Because it has the joint here, and it has a couple more joints that allow it to go up and down. But the reason why I like this stand a lot, or this boom arm on my stand, is because it's very rigid, which I can move it and stuff, and it will stay where I go. A lot of the cheaper ones, like the $20 stands here, they don't do like that. They're cheap, and they won't hold up your microphone and stuff. So that's an important part to know about the equipment. Remember, just like anything else, just like the microphone, unfortunately, the cheaper it is, it's just not going to have as much quality, all right, as the better ones. But you need a good mic stand, okay, a boom arm to hold up your microphone. Now, pop filters. Pop filters are something, and I should have brought one to look at because there's one in my booth. But basically, a pop filter is like a wire mesh that sits in front of your microphone. It attaches to a piece, somewhere here on your stand, and it's a wire, kind of like a little wire arm, and it holds a wire mesh in front of it. The idea is when you're talking, we have these things called plosives. And sorry, the light's coming in, so now it's really coming in the morning. I'll try to finish up. We have plosives, and basically it's like P's and T's where we pop. Okay, and that comes in your audio. And these pop filters are things that actually mitigate that or reduce it significantly by stopping the explosion of air that comes out of your mouth from P's and T's and so forth, okay? You get better as you go along as a voice actor. You're going to get better at acting and voice acting, so you'll get better at regulating your mouth, regulating your airflow, regulating how it sounds. But pop filters I still use one in my booth. I originally used a coat hanger and a pair of my wife's pantyhose for my pop filter when I first started. But you could get those pretty good, pretty inexpensively on Amazon. All right, and the last thing is as we're finishing up, we talked about cables a little bit. The XLR cable. The XLR cable is what we taught is the cable that plugs into our microphone, our XLR microphone. All right. Something I like to notice is don't get the cheapest one out there. All right, when it comes to XLR microphones, I personally like ones that have reinforced, like a reinforced cable around the inflection point of where you have the head of the cable and the actual wire going into the metal part of your cable and the ends, because it can crimp It can turn, you know, it can break. So I like to get cables that are more flexible in that sense. Also, make sure that you do have a ground. Like if you there's another issue with cables too by just plugging in power cables. A lot of times you might have a hiss, you might get feedback, right? You might be getting some sort of noise and you can't get it out of your audio. That could be that you have a simple grounding issue in your house because you have an older house. They sell you know, grounding devices to where you just plug it in through that and then plug it in your wall and it will ground. And basically what the issue is that a grounding issue is feedback electricity in the cables. They're old. There's areas that are, you know, the wire's degrading or whatever. So, you know, it gives this loud noise, starts to build up feedback from the cables. This happens a lot in live music. Okay, and so because you're running into a lot of cabling through old buildings, a lot of times we're running long 100, 200, 300 foot cables and stuff, so it's pretty crazy. So you have a lot of noise, you know, from the length of the cable, how far it is away, cables degrading. So you know, and so there's a grounding issue. So you can use grounding devices, and it's just like a little box that you plug in your, you know, your regular power plugs into. Okay, listen, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Choosing the right equipment is very important. I'll definitely put some links again and below for this to check out some of the stuff I talked about today. Don't forget to check out VO Journey Academy, where we take all this stuff and actually help you apply it so you can grow your voiceover business. Hope this video helps. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about choosing the right recording software and talk about some basic editing. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, have a good one. Bye, everybody.